You have the power to negate any also causing feeling that prohibits you to think.
Hello everybody, this is Anthony. You can find me on Instagram at Anthony Charles Parisi. I'm here with Astral Lotus at my first time at the Beauty in the Backyard. This is a beautiful place to open your heart, meet new beautiful people. I'm seeing it now, waking up to just smiley faces and this beautiful art all around. So about a few years ago, I started going into these festivals and realizing that it was an experience to be had. And anytime I went back home, I would share with all my friends, come on guys, if you want to play, if you want to get back in touch with your child side, this is a great place to do it. There's free installations all over, people are ready to receive you, open hearts all over the place. And I enjoy being naked, so getting out of my cabin this morning and doing a little stretching and getting some sun on the skin, just receiving everybody. It's a beautiful place to be. I really suggest that you come out to Beauty of the Backyard next year. I would love to see you here.
All right, we're back. I'm here with Brandon Decker. This is Dylan Nunn, and we're here for the second episode of the Metamakers podcast. Brandon, would you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, how's it going?
Fun fact
how's
about
it going,
you?
Dylan? A fun fact. I can hold one foot in my hand and jump my other leg through it.
Okay, should we? Let's see it. I'm gonna record this and we'll put this on a piece of the video, a piece of the.
Jeez.
Yeah, this is definitely gotta
To
happen.
be able to.
How about right here in this corner?
In that corner?
For everyone who can't see this, I'm recording it and we'll make sure the clip is live at some point.
Couple tries.
Oh, I have seen him do this before.
Go backwards. No, you're jumping forwards. Jumping this foot through there. Okay. Let's see.
Oh.
Oh, damn it, dude.
Close enough.
I need a new fun fact.
We'll save
I
that.
thought I could still do that.
What about your favorite joke? One of the things you told me about yourself is that you love jokes.
I do love jokes.
You are quite a comical person, so I would love to hear one of your jokes.
The problem with a favorite joke is then it's just like a little like knock knock, who's there kind of thing. Actually, you know what? Funny enough, one of my favorite jokes is a knock knock joke. So here we'll start it off.
Who's there?
Actually, tell you what. You know what? For this joke to work even better, I'm gonna have you start it off. You start the knock knock joke off.
Okay, I'll knock.
Who's there?
It's Dylan.
Dylan who?
Dylan Nunn. Yeah?
Yeah.
Who is it, Brandon?
It's Dylan.
Oh, okay.
No, it doesn't. So it's just it went too fast because I started the knock knock joke first. I forgot that for this one you really have to have the whole joke is you're like, hey, you want to hear a cool knock knock joke? Okay, you start me off. Who's there? But then of course you don't.
I'm
like,
there.
Yeah, and then when I say Dylan who, then you're like, because you don't know what the.
I feel like you'd say that to like a telemarketer or something coming by, or someone who you don't really want knocking.
Maybe.
So we're here at the Creative Labs, which is one of your many projects.
Oh wait, I lied. I got one to watch.
All right, here it comes.
What did the sushi say to the bee?
B-roll.
Wasabi.
All right. Boom.
Yeah.
Cool. So here at Creative Labs, which is a recycled art warehouse here in North Hamden, North Baltimore. That's been a project for about 5 years now, but you only joined in the last couple years.
Yeah, about 2 years ago.
About 2 years ago, joined Michael Metcalf to create this venue space and art studio space that is probably one of the most creative spaces in Baltimore. And
absolutely,
we know that. We definitely know that.
If not a broader, one of the most creative spaces
on the East
I think
Coast.
we can just put
period. Yeah, exactly.
just
period.
one of. I'm not saying top 10, but
Absolutely.
top.
that is made out of recycled materials on top of everything else. That you've got these spaces that are well funded, and then you've got a space with limited resources but does a lot with their resources. So how did you find this project? What kind of got you involved in Creative Labs in the beginning? And I'd love to learn more about like the history of your previous jobs and how did you end up here?
Oh man. Okay, cool. So in a nutshell, I worked in IT for about 10 years. And I was working in DC doing like independent IT consulting for restaurant groups and some like doctors' offices and stuff. And that was a pretty cool gig. I really liked it because I was working for myself and I got to solve problems and help people. And then I decided to take a gig at the Naval Academy. One of my friends who I hadn't, it was actually a funny story. He was like my best friend from 7th and 8th grade. But then he moved so that he would be in a different school district, like for high school. His parents moved. And then you just fall out of touch. That person doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
14 years later, he's at a happy hour. And one of my friends was at this happy hour. And every time that she answered the phone when I called, she'd be like, Brandon motherfucking Decker.
Yeah.
And so she answered like that at a happy hour where he's outside on the deck and was like, what name did you just say? Like, can I talk to him?
Right.
And so she hands the phone and he's just like, yo, dude, it's Derek. I'm like, what? He's like, Derek Plans. I'm like, what? So then we ended up relinking back up. And, he took me to Bass Center. I've never gone to see Bass Nectar, and I kind of fell out of like music festivals in general. I went right after high school and I did like 5 Bonnaroos or 4 Bonnaroos and All Good and Lollapalooza and all that kind of stuff. And then just kind of like fell into work and got that part like out of my system.
Yeah.
So then when he took me to see Bass Nectar and we went there for that, it was like, oh, fuck, like electronic music, I missed it. I just never, like I listened to like techno and electronica, but never like dubstep.
Right.
So I kind of missed the like resurgence of electronic and EDM. So after that, I took the job at the Naval Academy working with him, and then we started the Dome project together as a partnership. So it was called Illumine. I came up with that. I'm pretty happy with the name, but whatever. So we did that, but it was just one of those things where I was a super awesome dude, but it only takes one person to do like that project really. And when you have 2 strong like type A personalities working on a project where like you're both right, but how do you decide whose way to do it? And it's just so. It just didn't make sense.
Margins could be tough, right, as well, maybe?
Well, not even so much with that. It just really, like, the breakdown, unfortunately, came when I was out at a string of festivals, and he had an event here in Baltimore, but I was already with the Dome out at Lost Lands, and he wanted to use it for his girlfriend's graduation party. And it's just like, I'm not coming back to Maryland for that, dude. But I need the Dome. Like, dude, I'm very sorry, but, like, I'm here at a music festival with our projection dome.
Yeah.
I'm going to stay. So I sent him some money and he had to build another one, and that was that.
Well, now you've got multiple domes, right?
Yeah. No, it worked out great. And now both of us can be doing, our own projects. But the connection back to the labs. So with that same dome project, I was at Yonderville in 2018.
Right.
And I had my dome there. So
at Verdun Adventure Bound. Right?
Yes, beautiful venue. We can put a little plug for Beauty in the Backyard in there, because hopefully that'll be possibly one of the the homes of it.
Absolutely,
remains to be seen.
Absolutely,
but if not for Beauty in the Backyard, BitB, check it out online. Verdun is just a really cool spot if you have scouts, or if you're just looking for somewhere to go, camp for a weekend. But so I was there, and Jay and Richard were also there. And it was Richard's first time tripping on acid. And
first time meeting Jay and Richard?
I knew Jay from high school.
Oh my God. Okay.
I was like 4 or 5 years older than him, so I didn't know him. But once I graduated, I started dating my little sister, who's 2 years younger than me. Her best friend, one of her best friends at the time,
dating his little sister's best friend, not his little sister.
Yes. And they... her little sister, so even younger, like 6 or 7 years younger, was good friends with Jay. Yeah. And so Jay used to buy some weed from me back in the day when I didn't ever sell it, but if I usually had enough that if you asked me for some, I'll sell you a 20 bag. So he would get weed from me a couple times and come to like house parties and play, came to our poker night and all. And then I just never saw him again after that, because it's like just randomly my girlfriend's little sister's friend, you know, once I broke up with her. And even once we just moved out of the area, that was it. So, but it's not like we like hung out. We just like, he was always cool though. Like, because usually her friends who, when I was 20 and they were like 14 or something, were very like, no, but they always were allowed to be there when we'd have a house party, because it was like, if you don't let me bring a couple friends, I'll tell mom you guys are having a party kind of thing.
Right.
So then you're like, okay. But Jay was always cool.
Yeah.
Like he was rolling joints back then too, just like he does now.
So
And
Jay is a good friend of Brandon's, also local Baltimore artist who makes wire wrapping art that he hangs on power lines all over the world, right?
Yeah.
And Jay and Brandon are, you know, I think almost inseparable good friends that you can tell, you know, if you see one, the other is not far behind, I would say.
And that really all happened after, so they came in the Dome that night
After
and
Yonder
were
World,
pretty blown away with it.
Right.
And they came over to talk to me about it. And then we just ended up hitting it off and chatting for like an hour.
Nice.
And they're like, dude, well, especially mainly, you know, Richard is like, dude, like come back and check out our spot, Creative Labs. Like, I've got a project that I need to do a dome for Moonrise. Like, why don't you come work on that with me?
Right.
So the first time I came here and walked downstairs, you know, they still had the upstairs space.
Yeah.
Before we used to have, you know, this large venue above us that had like 25-foot ceilings and was just one huge giant room. And then came downstairs here, and you kind of remember how it was before. Like before we did the venue and before we did, you know, it was just a hallway. And it was like not nearly as cool. It was cool, but it was not like this.
And the place is constantly changing, and to see it now and to hear that, it's awesome to tell the progression of where it was.
And pretty much they like that, the coolest part, like after I came here and was just immediately inspired, and I was looking to get out of, or I had just left the Naval Academy, maybe 3 weeks before that. So I was very much looking for a project to get involved with. I had already pulled out my retirement money, and I was going to buy and do a bus because I had like 10 or 15 grand. Then I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to do it and then I'll own it. But when I found this place and then heard, especially that like at the time, you know, some of the, you know, people running the spot were leaving, and it was, you know, a chance that it might not make it. It's like, you know what, like, fuck a bus. Like, this spot is worth that money. Like,
and why? Why in your eyes? Like, what called out to you the most?
I think how much space it was, I saw a lot of potential in it. And because there was such a free, like, you know, a freedom here, really, like, when I saw the space, I was really inspired. But the bigger thing was when I went to Burning Man with them a month later. Literally the following month after meeting them, they sold me their extra ticket and then paid all of my travel costs and camp dues in return for me bringing the dome and setting it up out there. And then, so of course that experience of driving Bev across the country with Richard.
Bev is a giant art car parked here at the labs. That is synonymous.
16 foot long, 1983 Chevy step van. Like a bread truck kind of thing.
If you see like this beautifully painted truck, like Brandon's talking about, you'll also find Brandon not far behind.
So I think after that, and then really connecting with Michael, that's when I had my first opportunity to really kick it with him and talk. And, you know, we went on a couple like adventures at night, and we were both, you know, a little bit faster and a little bit more, you know, mischievous, and just like, I don't know, we clicked. We very much clicked out there at Burning Man. And then, so coming back, it was, you know, that's when the conversations were really starting to happen, where like Richard was about to go to Vietnam, and people, you know, the crew that was in here at the time running it didn't really have any bright ideas on like how to save the space.
Right.
And so, that is when it really, you know, like, because I'd met the people, and when I met Michael and heard about, you know, like just so much about him, just his style and his life and how much work he put into the place, how much help he needed, and also how much freedom I would have to kind of like, he doesn't want to like take the helm. Like he
Right.
wants to make art.
Yeah.
Like he is down here because he's an artist who did his time as a dad, and now he wants to make art. He doesn't, he's starting to come around.
Doesn't necessarily
but like,
want to run a business, but
Yeah.
wants to make art. Yeah.
So it was a really cool. It was the exact kind of project I was looking for.
Right.
Because I've always tended to gravitate towards projects that give me, and I don't want to say control, but like the freedom to try things and to, like, I don't know, just freedom, which is
Right.
something that you don't find at a lot of jobs, which is why I always tended to be like, do like consulting,
Yeah.
where the freedom you have then is like, you're the expert. Somebody comes to you with the problem and then you solve it. There's not like your boss isn't telling you what you have to go bring that person. Like you just research the best product, the best
Right,
solution, you implement it. So
That's-
it was just very serendipitous,
Yeah.
to say the least, that the timing of everything worked out.
Right. I mean, that's one of the things I really admire about you, Brandon, is that like you question how people are doing things in a way that allows them to figure it out for themselves, like allows them to be resourceful and like, oh yeah, if you put that there and do that, then you'll get this. And I think that's a great leadership quality that brings a lot of people to the space and keeps them like staying here because they are learning things. I think community is all about providing space for people to grow and get better, and that is in full force here at the labs. If you have a question, you're one of the most receptive people I know to like those questions, and we'll give those people like their full attention in order to solve that question, but not show them necessarily, but like help lead them along, which may be something you learned at the Navy or in previous jobs, but it's awesome.
I think it's just like I've just always questioned stuff and questioned everything, because when you question stuff, that's how you find out like what people are thinking and I've just always had this like I don't know, like like drive to just help people and things and stuff. I've always been in like even when I was doing IT, I loved that the type of IT I did, it dealt with a customer directly. I don't like the type where I'm just looking at a screen all day and like looking at numbers and lines and clicking things and doing the work behind the scenes that is necessary.
That customer,
But it's not even about like wanting like credit for it. It's just I loved that when a ticket came in and it was like, Rusty's can't connect to his printer or whatever. Like I get to walk to a person's desk.
Let's go see
be
Rusty.
like, hey man, what's up, Rusty? How's it? Oh, okay, what's going on? Cool. I'll take a look at it. And then while I'm working, Rusty gets to take a break.
Yeah.
He's gonna go make a cup of coffee. Then he's gonna sit down and we're gonna have a chat. We're gonna talk about how his daughter's doing in college, how that vacation was, how that whatever, while the work is happening. And that was just like the most phenomenal, because not only are you helping the person, but you get to be this little like pleasant break.
Yeah.
And I just love
like comic relief, right?
Yes,
like,
seriously, comic relief and just positive energy. Like I loved being able to, especially in a corporate environment, bring that around.
Yes.
And, almost in a way where it's like, I had some people who just, the types of conversations we had, like, you knew that they were almost happy when something would break, like, whoop.
Yeah, get to
I
see
put in a
Brandon
ticket,
again.
like, or sometimes they put in a ticket and nothing's, like, really broken. They're like, I figured it wasn't anything, but I just, well, since you're here, like, blah, blah, blah. Or they'd ask me questions about their home thing. And that would be my favorite. Like, we'll work on your home, or this computer, and you're like, so I got a question. I have an iPhone and like I have this smart TV, but I can't figure out how to share photos from my computer through the. You're like, oh, dude, okay, let's look it up. How about this?
And plug it up. Yeah, it's like the willingness to just look it up.
It's so fun. Yeah. It's so fun, and it's just I think especially with a lot of situations, it's a skill I have where I'm not. I was just kind of born with it, but I'm less emotional and way more logical. So it allows me. I'm very grounded and like level-headed. So I think that it helps then, because I always try to make sure that everybody knows, like, you can come to me about anything, but you can come to me with something like heavy.
Yeah.
Big, heavy, and like. We're gonna put a plan together.
Yeah,
we're gonna get through it.
Let's hash it out.
There's no situation that I'm not willing to get involved in, and it's just I love it. I really love it. And another life, maybe like therapist would be cool. I could totally just like
Cool. I
love
was
to
gonna,
like
yeah.
sit around all day and just like really try and figure out like, like I just don't get discouraged. There's always another, no matter what you've tried and no matter how long you've tried it, like you haven't tried everything. Like,
Are there things that discourage you? Like anything that like absolutely will just be like, you won't even try to solve? I mean, things that...
my own problems.
Okay, yeah, that's good. Like often there's like quote like, it's really hard to take your own advice.
Yes.
So
to
like,
practice what you preach.
Practice what you preach, exactly. Well, is there one thing that you're questioning lately in life that you said you like to ask questions a lot? And is there anything like currently that you're questioning, or maybe some political things or things going on with current events that you're questioning?
That's a very loaded question.
Yeah, I'm curious on your perspective on what's going on in the world right now.
I mean, I question... well, I mean, yeah, what I'm questioning right now is I think very much like what to do about just like life and like how to live it and how to like my living situation more specifically.
Yeah.
And
personally.
Being that we're in the city, it's something that, I like because there's a lot of opportunities, but I would love to have, some land with a little bit of like space, to do some growing and to just not be so stuck together. But, of course, with the labs being such a big responsibility, it makes it hard because I tend to put others before myself in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
So the issue is, even though I could take the money and run, so to say, and be like, all right, Joey's mom, like, get us a spot. Yeah. And then just like the easy way would just be grab a little job, and then the spot's already there. And then, you're set, easy.
Joey being Brandon's partner in life.
Yeah. Yes.
Right now. And yeah, I think, they're going through a decision on where they want to live. And it kind of leads into one of my next questions here is like, what do you like best about Baltimore, or what's one thing that's underappreciated about Baltimore? We're sitting in Baltimore currently at this art space, so I think you've got a lot of underlying love for Baltimore in some aspects.
I do, and it's this love of like something you admired for so long from afar, and so now you're finally like here. So I'm still in my kind of like golden moment, as they say, where like there's no downsides to the city for me yet.
Yeah.
At a certain point, people who live here, I'm sure it like, clicks and they're kind of like, I don't know, like Baltimore's all right. Maybe it doesn't. But for me, it definitely hasn't happened because I always came to Baltimore as a kid for all kinds of stuff, for like a school field trip, to go to a Ravens game, to go to the aquarium, to go to just ESPN Zone or just random stuff, But it was very much that kind of thing where like you came into Baltimore, you did whatever you were doing, and you immediately left.
Get out quickly.
Like, go investigate something you heard was cool up the street.
Yeah.
So now this is also very much pre-social media days and like internet. So it's not.
Yeah.
But yeah, even when it came up in like my 20s, like we'd come up to go to the head shop and then we'd leave. We wouldn't even like venture out to go find some cool food or something. We just like. And so I think I always knew that it was cool because like I had some friends who lived in it. And they were like the cool kids. Yeah. So you're like, I know the city's got stuff to offer, but I just never took the chance on it. And then I got wrapped up with work and stuck around Annapolis. Then I went to DC for a while. And so it was always something I wanted to do. And then because of those guys coming in the Dome and having this opportunity where it was basically like leave Annapolis, leave my career, leave my girlfriend at the time and I were like, it wasn't really working. We're still really good friends to this day, but it just like, we kind of knew like some stuff wasn't working. So it was a very big, like, but I went for it and it worked out. I've been so happy because Baltimore just like, there's an authentic scene here. There's like, I spent time in DC and I spent time down on K Street. And I mean, there's some cool spots in Columbia Heights and like to some degree Adams Morgan, but like, just the vibe of DC is very different. It's very fast paced and money oriented and image and just
stressful, political. Yeah. A lot of that. Yeah.
And whereas Baltimore is just very authentic, like other than the downtown area where you have, like your Fogo de Chau's and, Hooters and whatever.
Ripley's,
like,
believe it or not.
yeah. Like everywhere else is just, I don't know. It amazes me that there's so many cool things here, because I too foolishly thought that Baltimore was just The Wire, except now with fentanyl instead of, heroin.
Yeah.
But and it is, but it's so much more. And I think because it is that thing, one of the both, I don't want to call it happy, but things about the city that is both really depressing but also offers opportunity is how serious the drug problem is here. Is because like spaces like ours get to exist and little pop-up events get to happen. And if I want to go, and we did this one night, projection map the whole side of a building with speakers playing at 2 a.m. with no permitting in a random lot, I can do it.
Yeah.
Because it's not the kind of thing that, cops and stuff tend to care about, you know, because they have real problems going on, and people making art is not a real problem.
Oh, let's say that again. People making art is not a real problem.
Baltimore has real problems.
Yeah. And so the cops aren't arresting you for making art at 2 a.m. on a Sunday.
Yeah, and they their ability to recognize all sorts of things as, and I don't know that they're necessarily thinking, oh, that person's doing art when they decide not to pass, but their ability to go, that person's not committing a crime.
Yeah.
Is so great versus some other places, out in the county. It's like, even if they don't know that you're committing a crime, they'll just assume that, like, well,
it's like they're bored.
You must have a permit or something. There's no way you're just allowed to project on a building and bring sound, a DJ set up outside. Like, never fly.
Exactly.
Baltimore?
Yeah.
Use at your own risk. It's like for the whole city. It should say that when you drive in. It should say, Baltimore, use at your own risk. Like, because you can do whatever you want.
Yeah,
and it's just on you.
Create at your own risk, or that's amazing. If you could have tea with one fictional character, who would it be and why?
God.
God. Why? What would you say to God?
Oh man. Well, if God existed, like.
Yeah, there's
so many
fictional character
for somebody
there.
who likes to question, right? Like,
question religion, right?
So, in this scenario where I'm meeting with the fictional character,
what tea are you drinking, and what are you guys talking about?
Well, if I'm meeting God, maybe it's like mushroom tea.
Yeah, okay.
And I guess the big question. It's not. How amazing would that be? Would you even know what to ask, right? Like,
just
if you could ask anything and it could get answered because it's the person, like. Then, like, it's like wishes. Like, how do you just pick three?
Why did Donald Trump win the election?
No, but that's so easy to point out.
Sure.
Yeah. And at first I would, want to know something like why are there negative feelings? Why is there pain? Why is the ability to hate a thing?
Ooh.
But then it's that yin and yang, right? Like,
gotta have the
how? Yeah. Would you even want to live in a world without pain, without fear, without violence, without hate, without crime, without whatever?
Yeah.
Well, then what would the new bad thing be? Like you can't.
Yeah. Is there something? What's one of the saddest stories or saddest things that's happened to you in your life? One of the lowest lows, if you're. That's maybe led to one of these highs, or not, or just been a point that's been tough for you. Yeah.
No, it was losing my dad. In 2014.
It's fairly recent, yeah.
Yeah. He was 49, and it sucked because he was awesome. He was like super fucking cool. But
I mean, you are how you are, so I can't imagine.
Because he was who he was.
Exactly.
It really was one of those, like, I got big time lucky, like. Big time lucky.
For the years you were with him, yeah.
Yeah,
and
which 26 still.
He was there for most of
every single. I mean, we were close.
And how old are you now? Just so
32.
32. I'm 26, so I can't imagine losing my father at this age.
Right.
Like,
there's like
Yeah.
you're not done. There's so many things
Right,
you still like.
right.
What's up with this? What's your thoughts on that? What do I
Yeah.
do about this?
And especially when it comes like way too early, it feels like way too early. And
Yeah.
what did you do to cope with that? What can others do to cope with death if they've ever felt that recently? Or
It's such a personal thing. I think it's really tough to say because what works for one doesn't necessarily work for another. For me, to be honest, it wasn't as like I said, since I'm not as emotional as a lot of people are.
Yeah.
It sucks, but I was never I think crippled by it the way that sometimes some people might
Right.
slip into a depression or something. Totally normal and hey, I get it.
Yeah.
But that just never happened because I just kept kind of the gratitude really of just reminding myself and thinking of I could think of so many friends, almost all of them, who still had their parents, and more than half of them kind of sucked. Not to hate, but they just they were not remarkable. They didn't really go above and beyond. They weren't fun. They weren't whatever. And who's to say they don't come from a long line of people who trained them to be that way? But I just I felt so lucky to have
had your dad
had
for
those times.
yeah.
The biggest thing that I felt sad about was just for him and for my mom.
Yeah.
For him, because it's damn, I think of all the bullshit that I put them through, because I was a real rapscallion.
Were you?
Kid. Yeah, man, just such a bad kid. A good kid, but a very mischievous, habitual line stepper.
Right.
My whole life.
But what was the biggest line you crossed that your dad would be like, "Oh, Brandon, that you maybe regret now is there something that you maybe regret? Not necessarily you're grateful for."
The thing that I regret is that he never really got to see me find my niche or catch my stride.
Your full expression of you.
Yeah. And it's just frustrating because at the time when he died, I was particularly I don't know, just kind of
You were in their job
all
at
over
that
the
point. You were
place.
kind of still
well,
working
yeah.
out.
But I had my girlfriend at the time. She had schizoaffective disorder,
Yeah.
which is heavy. It's
Right,
as
yeah.
heavy as it sounds. It's
Right.
it's part-time schizophrenia.
Yeah.
And so that was really getting pretty bad. And then that coupled with, my dad, because he was sick for a year and a half before he died. When he first got diagnosed, they gave him 4 to 6 weeks.
Right.
So at least, we got that time. But it was, sorry, I forget what we were specifically saying there. Yeah, either way, it was just, I just felt bad that, oh, that's right. Because since I was such a kind of a bummer of he never felt that way.
A line
But
stepper.
Yes,
Yeah.
which caused my parents to fight, over me, just my mom would be calling me out accurately and he'd be wanting to give the benefit of the doubt and all that. And just
So standing up for you too,
Yes.
Yeah.
And in some ways we'll never, I appreciate it because, and my mom, it's not like she never showed me anything but love, but she was just more you did the crime, do the time kind of thing. And he was more let's just we can talk to him.
Yeah.
And he doesn't need to go to military school.
Do the crime in his room instead of halfway across the room. Yeah.
But so he put so much time into us and raising us, and then I feel he only had maybe 20 years that he kind of got, and probably not even that, maybe 10 years where he more or less kind of got to just do his thing and get a motorcycle and go fishing and that kind of stuff.
But he did get that time at least, yeah.
Yeah. But he was super cool. And then the other person that really, and it still kind of makes me sad, is just my mom, because they loved each other so much. He was from Missouri, she was from Massachusetts. They met in the Navy here in Annapolis.
Nice.
And then got married when they were 20.
Wow.
Yeah, and then had me at 22, which that's just bonkers to think about. Every year I
2
turn
years.
another age older,
Yeah.
I think about how old either just me or me and my sister were when my parents at that time. And I'm picturing having, at this point for them, having a 10-year-old Brandon
Yeah.
and an 8-year-old Lexi at this time, a 10-year-old.
Yeah. Like already 10 years in, and that's, they're needing as much care as they can get at that moment.
Yeah. So for her, I just feel bad because I think it's very tough because they were Dan and Michelle. They were a pair. They went to parties together.
Right.
They
When you saw
hung
one,
out
the other one
together.
was
They
there.
always. So then you kind of lose your identity a little bit when you enter into a relationship to some degree.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just you don't smoke weed in the house anymore, and then sometimes it's like a full blown. You wouldn't even know what to say when somebody asks, tell me about yourself. Who are you? Without saying, well, me and my wife, and that's beautiful.
We're on this journey together.
But then when one of those partners, is no longer part of it for one reason or another, and that could be a death, a divorce, deployment, or whatever. It just it really causes this kind of like nebulous what am I? How am I? What do I do now?
Right.
So the cool thing is she's, let's see. Well, if I'm 32, then she's 54. So she's still got a lot of time, a lot of life ahead. She's been really kind of owning it in these past few years. She got cancer too. They both had cancer at the same time.
Wow.
And that was fucking wild.
Right.
Another serendipitous thing though, because she had really good health insurance through her work. She works at the Naval Academy. So when she got diagnosed also, she was able to take long-term disability for 6 months and be home
and still get paid
with him every day
Right.
for 6 months.
Spending that time.
Yeah. All the way through him passing every single day. You don't think that anyone's lucky for getting cancer, but man,
It's a situation.
otherwise she would have had to quit her job or
Yeah.
or go to work and not have the time to hang out with him.
And that's 8 hours every day that she didn't get to be with him.
Well, and even more than that, because she works, you have to be there at 6 a.m. So it's she goes to bed fucking early and gets up early, and it's
You miss the entire schedule.
So that was kind of crazy. But now she's really owning it. So it's so beautiful to see, and now I'm bringing her to Burning Man this year.
Wow,
Which is
what an epic transition. I mean, your dad would be proud, and I think
he would.
With what you're doing now and everything with the labs and.
Oh, he would have loved it, man. Sometimes I do think about that because he would have he was an artist. He drew stuff. He built things. He made funny projects. He made just this place would have been. He would have come and gotten a studio.
He would have had a studio. I was about to say, he might even be sitting at this table with us right now.
Yeah.
So with the domes, you're also pretty into projection art. Can you share with whoever might be listening about kind of what inspires you in that aspect, and why you create that visual story that a lot of people go through at these events?
So it goes back to a long time ago. I've always liked to facilitate parties, however I could, and whether that was as simple as back in the day for house parties, I've always had good sound. Now that we're in the big boy world of professional sound, I realize it's not like I had these crazy PA systems, but I always had good home theater systems. Even when I was a teenager, I would get them at Goodwill.
And knew how to work them, right?
Yeah. And then that way, when somebody was having a house party, the difference in that whole event versus this is back in the day, people didn't even have Bluetooth speakers, having the radio on versus I come in with a set of speakers, and they're not here now, but and now we got a party.
Yeah.
And then I would buy lasers, and I invested in some black lights and some cool posters, and
just those couple things.
People would be having a party and wouldn't even ask me to do it, but I would just show up with a bunch of stuff in my trunk and bring in a few boxes and start setting up, and
classic.
Yeah, it changes the whole vibe.
Right,
and the ability to do that, to set the mood and to subvert expectations so that you go somewhere expecting it to be like this and then it's not. And whenever you do that for the better, now you're really getting someone.
Yes.
It's so the visual thing came in when I was working on actually before the Dome project even. That same person, Derek, we went to festivals and stuff, and I'm trying to remember which one it was that we saw some really dope, the way that they had mapped out these cubes, and it was just really cool looking. So he was looking into it, and then we were talking, at work, because since we work together, we saw each other every day.
Yeah.
He was talking about it, and he's like, yeah, it's called like 3D projection mapping. And I remember thinking, that sounds fucking dope.
Yeah, that's rad.
3D projection mapping.
Yeah.
So once I heard that phrase, then I started Googling it
Nice.
and watching some videos, and I saw one with this cardboard box display that I was just like, I want to try and reset that up.
Do it
So I
at
did,
home.
because
Yeah.
I had projectors, because I've known for a while that forget having a nice TV, just have a projector, and then have this humongous
Bigger.
wall-sized
Yeah.
image. So since I always had projectors from being in IT, like you come across old equipment. So then I was able to, like, the same day I watched that video, download the free demo of the software and try it. And when you're doing it there in real life for the first time, like looking at it, it felt like superpowers all of a sudden, because you know what I mean? Like, you're only limited to whatever fits inside of that square of light that comes out of the projector. Beyond that, there are no limits to what you can
Put on
do
the,
with
on
it.
the square.
Yeah. You don't have to, buy a bunch of extra hardware or anything. You don't have to mount all kinds of, you can just, and that
Rip
seemed
clips
really
off
neat,
YouTube. Like, yeah.
because then, that same Brandon who loved, like, bringing his green laser from Spencer's to, like, really take the party to that next step. Now I bring a projector somewhere, and it really, like, gave me this ability to do stuff that people weren't just like, oh, this is cool, but they're like, whoa, like, what the fuck, man? Like, that's cool. So
Like the next level.
the dome one was a fun learning how to map that. But now my absolute most favorite thing is designing stages for shows and then getting to map it out. Actually,
So like
running the
the
projections.
actual like cutting of the boxes, or like the actual building
And-
that wood structure.
Yes,
to
and
like,
just thinking of it. Just
Yeah.
like taking everything off the stage in there and just looking at the blank stage with the table and laying out all my different, like, strips and pieces and whatever, and just kind of like, okay, and like
what would
coming
look
up with a
cool.
new thing.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. And the thing I love about it too is not only do I like doing it, but a lot of other people aren't doing it. There's a lot of people who, and nothing against them, I guess, but like, you go to a show and there's a rectangle behind the DJ,
Yeah.
and that's it.
That's it.
And that's the guy coming to do visuals brings a laptop, plugs in,
Yeah.
stuff comes up on that rectangle, done.
Kind of routine, right?
And it's tough because, like, if you go to sound check, every single show at sound check feels like every other single show at sound check.
Right.
And unfortunately, it's kind of like that even at a lot of other clubs, unless they're doing like a big, once a year event.
Yeah.
It's just the standard, like, screen behind them, nothing new, nothing
It doesn't even take that much effort
at all. I do it an hour before doors.
Yeah,
I'm
right,
building
like-
a stage in 1 hour, and then mapping it out. And I don't know. I think some other people maybe prepare more for their actual set, whereas I largely make it up on the spot and just, like, pull stuff out of my ass during the performance. But I would rather do it this way because, like, I want to see new stuff. I don't want to see the same thing.
Right,
and like, I feel like everyone with their visuals, you have a style that, like, if you've seen somebody enough times, you could probably just look at a picture from a concert and be
know
like,
who it is.
oh, is that so and so on visuals? And they'd be like, yeah. You're like, okay, cool. And in some ways, fine, nothing wrong with that. But then in other ways, you can't just, like, change your style. So what are you going to change?
The stage. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Like the actual background.
Because you can reinvent a new stage in 20 minutes. It takes, hours or a month to, like, kind of come up with a new sort of, like, direction you're going and get all new content made and, like, yeah.
Nice.
And it's really fun. And now I'm actually starting to get some gigs, like, outside of the labs. It's great. Because I'm terrible. I don't promote myself at all. So it's just kind of cool that it's like, you, and you know this about me, but, like, you almost have to kind of, like, be a little tenacious if you want, to, like, work with me on stuff, because I want to do it, but
don't text Brandon, give him a call. That's the best way to go. And
call me 3 times in a day. Yeah. Sometimes I don't on my phone, but, like, when you do connect with me on the phone, like, bam, we're about to get it.
And he'll be willing to do it for sure. And hopefully this podcast might help you get another couple gigs because, money's tight right now.
Always, yeah.
The question I have is, what do you value most? Free time, recognition, money?
Free time. I don't even know what that is.
Right.
All time is free. Well, I guess the cost is food, water, and oxygen.
What about attention? Could be a cost, maybe.
What was the question again?
What do you value most?
What do I value most? Oh, man.
It's a good one. You stumped Brandon.
Yeah,
The stumper.
Yeah, well, because I want to make sure that it's a good question, so I want to give you a good answer.
Yeah, for sure. Please. How about this? What are you starving for?
Ooh.
Chipotle?
No, I am starving for exposure for this place. I really just want, like everyone who comes here loves it.
Yeah.
We have hundreds of 5-star reviews. We have thousands of people a year that leave here with smiles on their face and smiles in their hearts and then it still just mesmerizes me that it feels like no one knows about us.
Right.
Like the people who come here know about us, and we always get new people that come through at a show, but it just, I don't quite get like what's not clicking, when we're trying to come up with that like rent money each month and all. It's like,
right.
I don't know. It doesn't make sense. It's the same thing that went through my head when I first got involved here, and they were like, it might go under. And I'm thinking, how? Impossible. Like, how the fuck is it possible that a space that's this cool, that however many people love, that people come and how could it be?
Yeah.
And I'm still asking that question.
Right.
And it's even cooler now than it was then. And we're still like, how do we get people to just, want to be about it and want to support it? And
throw more shows and invite more friends and rent a studio. Yeah. I think,
and throw events, throw their own events, do their own workshop, teach something, do something.
Well, I think this podcast will help and more content will help. I think people, they need that inspiration. They need to see us doing it more. They need to know that we're fully in it as well. And maybe that hasn't been able to be communicated fully, but I think as people learn more about your story, I think they will. I think the more exposure we give it, the more exposure it will get, maybe. It's a tough one.
Yeah.
I think, it's one of our biggest starvations is like more exposure for our projects. Like, we want that buy-in. But I think when people believe in you, they believe in what you're working on.
Right. But I guess it's almost back to, and we've talked before about how it's, if you're not ready to receive help, then it's hard to like know how to ask for it in the right way.
Yeah.
And so that's where it's just tough, because I almost feel like we're in that same boat where like we're not even sure of how to ask for it.
Yeah.
We're always like, man, do we need a GoFundMe and Indiegogo? We need the Patreon. We need to host a fundraiser, have an event. But it's really tough, because I think for all of us, none of us like to just ask for help. We're all very independent, self-starting, self-sufficient people that just
expected to kind of,
So it's really together, hard to kind of make that appeal, just out to people, because you've got to make it often and in a variety of ways. You've got to have ads online and personal phone calls, send some mail out, go knock on some doors, and it's just
update your website daily and make posts and it honestly it feels like I'm drowning sometimes, and I'm sure you feel the same thing, and it's not a bad drowning, and I don't feel like I'm gonna die, but I do feel like I'm struggling for air, and like a little bit, it's
or maybe treading water.
I like that. Yeah, treading water.
Because I'm not, your head's staying up and all. You're not getting anywhere there. You're just. It feels like.
Oh, you're in one position.
Like you're you're replying back to that email, and
Slapping
you're
away
calling this
and- yeah.
person, you're doing that, but
Right.
shore is still like just on the horizon.
Yeah. Well, I think, what's interesting is the Creative Labs is different. We're not another venue that sells alcohol. Not another venue that
It's just a big black box.
it's just a big black box that does the same visual projections every night. And I think
with all the security theater and the
Yeah,
wands and
like-
checking inside your
Right,
wallet,
right,
like
and checking
you
your
think I have a
ID.
gun in my wallet?
Exactly.
Like, why are you checking inside of my wallet? Like, come on.
Right. And I think maybe that that difference and that unique aspect of this, it might be hard for people to digest fully, or for people to think that it's actually a professional place or a real place to go. I'm not sure. That might be one reason. But those what makes us unique and different might be what's turning people away, or what turning them away to not want to do their own thing here, because it's. I mean, although you can just BYOB, we're not going to serve the alcohol, but you can.
I don't
always
think anyone's really getting turned away. They're just not
self-starting.
aware.
Yeah,
Or they just don't even know to come here. To
Yeah.
reach out to us, or to we've got the venue has been going really well, and we are making traction in the
Yeah.
electronic scene. We're I see us popping up on EDM Train now, more
Yes,
regularly.
exactly.
Every few weeks there's an event, that's here. I've heard people talk about, or you were saying you heard some people talking, the other night.
I was at a show last night, or a couple nights ago, and the people behind us, in this absolutely sold out show in 930 Club were like, Creative Labs, have you heard of that place? That's that's a really, really cool place. And we turned around and kind of look over, and it was a great moment. It was
You didn't bring it up to them.
No, it was
overheard
completely us overhearing. So
yes.
I think a good quote in this moment is that sometimes it takes longer than we think. It takes a little longer than we think before that tipping point hits, and there's a show here every night, and we can't, we got to be here every day. It's I can't wait for that moment, because it is coming. I foresee it, because there's no way that you can have this many talented people in a space and it not succeed. And
but that's where all this crazy external
pressures of rent and
fire code,
right?
Stuff.
Occupancy permits, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
They really, it's
catch
tough.
up, yeah.
And then it doesn't help when you have the guy Mark next door, leaving notes, die hippie scum.
Right, it's completely uncalled
Literally
for.
all in Sharpie on the walls.
Right,
of
just
the
like Michael
common
does.
areas.
Yeah, oh my.
It's it makes
Yeah.
it's tough.
Well, you've got a couple really cool shows coming up at the labs, and
Yeah, heck yeah.
I think this podcast will be out ASAP, so we can give those shows a couple plugs.
Yeah, we have one
Solon
on the
and
13th.
Natalie,
Exactly.
yeah, they're good productions. They're having their first launch party on the 13th.
Hopefully their only launch party.
Their only launch party. Who knows? They might start another 4 brands. And,
True. That's a good point. Yeah.
But I'm super excited. I think, Natalie's getting in the DJ scene as well. There are 2 team members that worked on Beauty in the Backyard, and super excited for them to also be throwing shows. I think there's not enough shows being thrown in general, and the more events that people can feel capable enough to plan. I think that's one of the things I'm really inspired to do is share resources so that we can inspire more event planners in general, because people are lonely, and we want people to get out and connect with each other and get inspired in these spaces and create things that matter.
Though, of course, that brings up one of the other things that
Oh yeah,
I've been talking about all day is that, when you're trying to get people to connect and come together
in person.
How does that play with a pandemic?
Absolutely. And Brandon and I have
That
been
responsibility.
We've been talking a lot about the COVID-19 news and what's going on with that, and taking it seriously, because both of our businesses are revolve around live events, and if that means creating more online spaces for people to connect that are still supporting the labs, being open about the help that we need. I think, a GoFundMe or Patreon is a really good idea. And so that, our community knows and recognizes that our livelihood counts on people gathering. And
not even just their livelihood, the space.
Yeah, the space.
Right. I can't even count the number of months where I haven't taken a paycheck here just because, if the money's not there. I can live with that. But if the space goes away, we have 14 and a half years left on this lease.
Right.
And man, whether it's 2 months that we have to kind of, play it safe, or 6 months or 1 year, it's all still nothing in compared to that 14 years that we plan on being here in this space. And it would be such a shame to lose it over a couple of months, and especially, trying to do the right thing. Because, we could.
We're doing service.
Yeah.
We feel like this is one of the biggest services we can play to the community, and there's uncertainty. There's uncertainty whether or not people will show up to the events we plan.
But even beyond that, I am more worried if they do show up. If they don't show up, that problem is just,
good. Stay home,
the
stay
events
safe.
are canceled, we get it. But it's what happens if overwhelmingly, we reach out to all of our people throwing events and we say, hey, here's the situation, X number of cases in Maryland. We'll watch the situation as it progresses. But, do you want to still have your event? And they say, oh, yeah, we do. At what point do we go, it's just not safe. It's not smart.
Right.
Don't do it. Keep all your patrons, your
safe,
attendees safe. Keep your
yeah.
talent safe. Keep you safe, especially with these touring acts. They're on planes. They're flying all over the country. They're exposed to a crowd here to 400 people, and then here, and then here, and
that's their livelihood too. And so
the more that you keep asking them to fly all over the country, the more you're asking them to expose themselves.
So
or to carry it and expose other people.
How far is it going to go? How many music festivals and bigger events have to get canceled before we take drastic measure?
I think a lot to all. Because at the end of the day, it's just money and people's experience. But it's in other countries, Japan is canceling school for months. China is shutting down, whole cities and borders.
Right.
Italy, the entire country is in quarantine right now. The entire country.
Exactly.
And
Insane.
over here, Americans are like, I'm not sure what to do about Coachella this year. Dude, you know what I mean? That's some...
Right,
That's fucked up.
Right.
And it's people on both sides. The money people are like, should we have the event? We want to make all this money and we've already paid all this money. And then regular people just it's the FOMO or something. It's why don't we just everyone cancel everything for the next 6 months unless we hear better. Just cancel it. Just fucking stop. Just everyone chill out. If you have to go to work, go to work as safe as possible. And if you don't.
Right. Chill out even charging for rent during those 6 months. How about that?
Yes,
exactly. That would be great.
Exactly.
Can we say to the landlord, hey, we haven't been able to pay because part of our business is relying on live events, and maybe there's some workaround there. Is that the
11 of the investors in this building live in China.
Wow.
So, you would like to think that if you appealed to them and were we're trying to figure out how to not get everybody sick by having hundreds of people come together weekly. You would like to think that they would be like, oh yeah, fuck, no. Let's let them chill out for a little bit. But unfortunately, capitalism doesn't really allow for that. It's very much, that's not my problem.
Right.
You should have planned for that.
I should have planned for the pandemic. Everyone.
Seriously. So, and it's just really, really difficult. Even if we could get the funding for it, it's still that thing of are people here ready to make that sacrifice? And unfortunately, I think we are
The
very
sacrifice
much
of not like going to events or
like staying in, reading some books, catching up on a
Netflix.
podcast that you have been neglecting,
right, right,
but not going out.
Wow.
I've seen an interesting graph where if you graph out what happens, like if people just life as normal in the USA, the graph for COVID looks like this. It is not very wide at the bottom. But
Brandon's
it's very
going
tall.
up and down with his hand.
Yeah,
like
it's very tall, like a roller coaster with a big, huge, that first drop.
Yeah.
If you keep everybody, doing like a self-quarantine, social distancing kind of thing, where as much as possible you just stay away from other people,
right?
Then instead of being a 3-month epidemic that, has this high, rate of mortality, it ends up being more like an 8-month long thing, but it never has a big spike. It just stays at a manageable level. So even though it's much longer timeline-wise, it's much less people die.
Yeah.
Way less people die if you do this. If you don't do this, it's...
Yeah, and I mean, this is a serious thing. We're talking about the mentors and elders in our communities. We talked about death on this podcast, and it's not an easy thing to go through. I mean, the mentors and elders are very important people in our community, and they are going to be the people who are going to be affected most by this. And I think, people do need to understand that this is a serious thing, and I think will be affecting us for the next 5 years. If it's not dealt with properly, I think it'll affect the elections this November. I think it already has. I think it will affect every aspect of life. And it's an important thing to plan for. So let's turn this a little more positive to end this end this off. Another funny question for you. What is one of your guiltiest of guilty pleasures?
Ooh. Oh,
Brandon likes to splurge on something sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, one of my guiltiest pleasures, and it's something that you have recently gotten a taste for,
right,
is thrifting, my friend.
Okay, so I've got another question here.
Yeah.
What is the greatest free or cheap find that you found at a thrift store, or through just living that you've just found or like come across that you had to get that was like, I've gotta have that?
Oh man, the best thrift. Oh, dude, it's my rainbow jacket.
Rainbow.
I have that rainbow fleece jacket, like with the as southwestern like style.
I think you had it on at Beauty in the Backyard, right?
Quite possibly, yeah. I've worn it around here. It's huge. It's cool. But
and doesn't Joey have the matching one?
She does not. No, we have matching onesies.
Matching onesies.
But
okay.
that jacket, it's got a funny story with it because I told a friend of mine, he was asking me, where are you always getting these great clothes and stuff? And I'm like, dude, you got to go to the thrift stores. And he's like, I never know which ones or whatever. I'm like, dude, just any of them. He's like,
all the time.
But I'm like, but you know what? I've got one that's dope. It's not a Goodwill, like it's cool. So I told him about it. So
insider tip.
The next day,
can you share this with some of our audience?
I don't know, man.
It's too public.
Probably, yeah.
You might have to call Brandon.
It's a great organization. It's called Partners in Care, and it's in Severna Park, Maryland.
Okay.
Partners in Care. And their whole mission is all the money they raise goes to support seniors who choose to live in their homes with in-home care and meals and nurses and stuff.
Better for
it's
COVID.
Fucking rad. Yeah. So the next day he goes to that store on my recommendation.
Oh my gosh.
And then comes over that night. So 24 hours after I've told him where my secret thrift store is, I see him wearing this jacket. And now his name's Thor, and he's pretty short. He's probably about 5 feet tall. Right. This jacket is even a little big on me, and I'm like 5'10". So you can imagine it was like down to his knees. So when he comes in, I'm like, dude, where did you get that jacket? He's like, oh, I went to that thrift store you told me about, and I bought it there. I'm like, that's my jacket. Like, what do you? I'm like, dude, you can't go to my thrift store and buy something that I would have bought. Like, what are you doing, man? That's too big for you. He's like, well, I'm going to give it to my cousin for his birthday's in a few weeks. I'm like, I'll pick out another jacket. Okay. I have jackets. Let me take you downstairs. So So I took him downstairs to where I had like,
Bunch of
since I
stuff.
have this thrifting problem, if a fabric is fire,
Right.
I'll buy it. Even
Yeah.
if it's too big, too small, I'll still buy it. Just because, like, even if it's not for me, it's like giving. I gave John that trench coat the other day, the yellow one with the little fur thing on top of it,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
dope. It's too big for me. It's not too
Right.
big for him. I would rather buy it, and knowing I'm never gonna wear it, to like rehome it. So saying all that to say, so he's wearing this jacket, and I'm like, dude, let me take you downstairs. So I find another jacket that's big enough for his cousin.
Yeah.
And I traded him a quarter of dabs for it. I was getting them for free at the time, so it wasn't as big of a deal, but like
Oh my God.
about $100 worth of dabs. So when or more actually, but so when my girlfriend got home that night, she sees me wearing the jacket and she's like, "Oh, you went to the thrift store." So the part I didn't tell you is a few days earlier, she's at the thrift store and she called me and asked me like what size I wear or something.
Yeah, yeah.
And I told her and she's like, "Okay." And she didn't buy this jacket. And so she, so when I'm wearing it, she's like, "That's the jacket that I called you about
Oh
a couple days ago." I'm like, "You didn't buy
buy
this jacket for me?" Like, she's my ex-girlfriend now. I'm not going to say that that's why, but like, you didn't buy. I'm like, this is me
And it had to go
embodied
through
as a jacket.
Had to go through someone else.
Yeah, almost didn't
You had
get it.
to
And then
lose a quarter
on
of
top of that, the jacket was $5 at the store, and I paid a quarter of dabs plus another jacket. But that's my absolute favorite.
That's a
favorite
little
thrift
lesson
store.
to check out your local thrift stores.
Thrift store
and,
find.
and be
But
okay.
now I have a new problem at thrift stores, and it's that damn blackjack game. Frickin' frack blackjack, where you play blackjack but you bet your stuff instead of money. Whenever I go to festivals, I always play it. So now when I go to festivals, I bring a bin full of stuff specifically to gamble with. So now the issue is I will find myself in a thrift store looking at some little trinket that I have no desire for, but I'm going to buy it.
Right.
Because I'm pretty sure that when I break that thing out on the table at blackjack, it's going to get me something good.
It's gonna be worth something.
Yeah, they're gonna be like, "Whoa, what is this?"
And
So-
Brandon's bringing up an event we just had here at the labs. Frickin' Frick Blackjack is the original name.
Yeah, frickin' frack.
Frickin' Frack. We called it Casino for a Cause the other day and raised money for Michael Metcalf and his son, who has MS. And I think it's a really interesting game because you're trading stuff and people are bringing their stuff out of their house and materialism gets questioned and there's a little bit of jealousy and people walking away with other people's finds but overall it's a lot of fun and I think we'll definitely be having another one of those events here at the labs.
Great way to declutter.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm telling you people, the most exciting events you can ever imagine are here at Creative Labs and we're looking forward for you all to come here to the space. March 13th, and Hullabaloo is
Hullabaloo, March 20th.
March 20th.
That's
and,
for the equinox.
and if people don't know who Hullabaloo is, touring DJ, right?
Yeah, check him out on Spotify.
Pretty big name.
Bass music. It's really interesting. I don't want to just say bass music because it's like.
Gonna bring a lot, yeah.
Yeah, it's wild. It's cool. Plus the sound system for that night is fat.
Nice,
Bring some
nice.
extra sound in. It's gonna be awesome.
And there's always spaces that you can come to in the labs that are not don't have that amplified sound where you can connect with people and kind of be curious and find yourself and have a conversation with someone you might not have had before. So looking forward to seeing you all here and stay safe out there. Wash your hands. Giving people the foot fives these days.
Yep, or the elbows.
Or the elbows, exactly. One of something Davis has been sharing with everyone is stay alkaline, whatever that means. Eat those alkaline foods. What else? Any more inspiration or advice from Brandon Decker before we sign off here?
PLEL. It's so easy. It's the simplest little concept.
PLEL?
PLEL stands for positive, loving, energetic loopers. And so it's so simple. When you're talking to somebody, I'm creating the loop because the sound waves are coming out of my mouth and they're going into your ear. Your brain is converting that into electricity,
Nice.
which is then coming out as sound waves from your mouth back into my ear. it's an abstract loop, but it's a loop. It's an actual loop that we are making between us. So whenever possible, create that loop with as many people as you can, and always be positive, loving, and energetic when you do it. Because just it's that thing where, like, you know, you get a compliment from somebody, random stranger on the street, you might ride that high for a week. You never know. I mean, you know, and especially people who don't, you know, loneliness kills, man. Like it's a real thing out there.
Yes.
And just, you know, connect with people. Like, let them know that, you know, we're not all strangers out here. We're just friends we haven't met yet. But like,
I love that. I love that.
PLEO.
Well, that's it for the Metamakers podcast. And Brandon Decker, thank you so much for joining us.
No worries. Yeah. Check us out online, creativelabsbemore.com, or on Facebook at The Labs Be More.
What about your number if people need to call you? If that's one of the only ways.
Of course. Yeah.
We've had a couple people drop their number.
443-478-3330.
Call him, beep him. He's got one of the best ringtones I've ever heard.
And, that's great.
For sure. Looking forward to seeing you all here. And thank you again for listening and spending your last hour with us. This has been another episode of the Metamakers podcast, Creative Arts Inspiring Sustainability.